Share Shootout brought to you by Lion of Africa Insurance, insuring South Africa's future.
It's brutal, backbiting and outright barbaric. The Share Shootout League right here on CNBC Africa, first in business worldwide. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Now, should you kiss the frog that ends up in your woolly salad, or are you frightened what it might turn up? Well, Ketso Gordon sell his PPC shares and lock in a 25% post-departure collapse in the share price. And how do you know a national key point is a national key point unless somebody actually publishes a list of them? Now, we don't know the answers to any of these revolutionary questions. What we do know is that the league is coming to a close. Just take a look at what happened on Twitter in the battle between the Scot and K Live. The Scot got a beating from an off-form K Live that sees Clive Ramatibela-Smith bag yet another win, and it sees him going up the log. Clive has been a late performer on this particular show. He has, of course, got national support because of that funny laugh of his, has our Clive Ramatibela-Smith. Bad luck to the Scot. Now, you decide who wins the match, ultimately who walks away as champion of this league. All you've got to do is follow @SSO League and you tweet any of the stock pickers hashtags. It's actually really simple. Let's get back to the match at hand and let's get to the long, and yes, I know we're bored of the jokes, but yeah, the short of it, because everyone compared to Gary is not very tall.
My name's Gary Booysen, Head of Trading with Vunani Private Clients. At the moment, I'm experimenting with enhanced alpha trading. You almost go and find value, good quality companies, and then pick them up, hold them for the long term. As long as it's got solid fundamentals, you put hedges in place to try and get that little bit of enhanced performance. So it's a philosophy, new philosophy, but we're trying it out. So it's going to be interesting. I think lots of prep work. I mean, it's a very tough show because you never know what the other contestants are going to do. But we're going to have to really go and dig out some good opportunities for the viewers. And yeah, I think also throw in a few curveballs, try and find something, some of the more obscure stocks that are showing value. So far, my biggest competition has probably been Mike Harworth and Sasha. They've always been tough to beat. I think I have a shot at it. I think maybe the track record has been fair so far, but it's definitely going to be tough. I just hope the audience is going to base their decisions on the quality and the performance of the shares, not just on the explanations.
It's easy when you do it live because then you just keep flowing. Eh? My name's Lavan Gopaul. Because we're a futures trading house, a lot of it is trading single stock futures and the index. We try and be as swift as possible to get in and out of the market. So we look for gaps both up and down to take advantage of these moves for our clients. The game plan, it's a poker game, so you've got to keep a poker face, and we're going to be armed with all this knowledge and research, and we're going to be playing our strategy very close to our chest. So I think it's mainly a knowledge base more than anything. The biggest competitor's got to be Bruce Whitfield. He's always putting us on the spot and he steals all our limelight. I definitely think we've got a very good chance of winning the game. It's like playing poker. So we've got a very good knowledge of the market. We know all the stats and we know when to hold them and when to fold.
Both Lavan Gopaul, hashtag the good guy, who's an independent analyst, and Gary Booysen from Vunani Private Clients, who goes by the name Running Dog, are gunning for a top spot, especially Gary Booysen, who's turned the top 5 on the league. He needs to win today to get into the final 4, and Lavan Gopaul needs to win today to drag himself out of no man's land. But first, the house rules. Both players have got to pre-pick 3 shares. Only I know what they've got. Each player's got to accept at least one of the other player's stocks, and each has got 30 seconds to argue why their stock pick is best. They can choose from the JSE. We give them an offshore allowance as well. One international stock tonight with an unpronounceable name per round. Now, the rules are out of the way. Let's get down and dirty. Lavan Gopaul, I like your coppery tie, but Gary is first. Let's go with you, Gary Booysen, as my device decides to go into lockdown, which is what it does from time to time. But being technically minded and being terribly capable, it doesn't bother me one little bit. There we go, you see, seamless. Okay, in 30 seconds, tell me why you're not chicken. for Sovereign Foods?
Definitely chicken. I think this company is going cheap, cheap, cheap. It's obviously Sovereign Foods is probably the best of the poultry producers that we can see. It's an industry that's been through a lot of difficult times with high input costs, with the feed prices very high, but at the same time also a lot of competition from dumping. Department of Trade and Industries has put tariffs in place, so they're not really worried about that. And at the same time, the maize price has fallen dramatically, which has just turned these companies around completely. And this specifically Country Bird.
There we go. Country Bird is the big brand, of course, in Sovereign Foods. Lavan, Gopaul, there's a lot to like about chicken, especially roast. Oh, don't get distracted. Sovereign Foods, do you like it more than you like Astral?
So for me, it's not a clucking good story. All I can say is, yes, they've had troubles in the past, as you mentioned, high feed prices, you've had import product, you've also had disease amongst the birds. I believe that there are other companies that I'd rather be exposed to, certainly other food companies that I like. Within the sector, it's not something that I'm gravitating towards. So for now, I'm going to give it a miss and
he may be missing an opportunity here, because we have seen, for example, Astral Foods really re-rate very strongly this year off the back of DTI protections, falling maize prices. There's the other sort of factor that nobody's really seems to be putting into shares yet, because nobody yet believes it. Oil below $70 a barrel. Suddenly, transport, energy, all of those costs are far more controlled than they've been during 2014.
No, definitely. And I mean, that's why you've seen a re-rating the sector. But I mean, if we talk Sovereign more specifically, I mean, obviously they've got, that Eastern Cape market pretty much wrapped up. I mean, we saw the other players moving out of there, and they've got, a moat there, if you want to call it that. At the same time, you mentioned the sickness, which is actually interesting, because at the moment, they've just had H8N5 bird flu in UK, Germany and Netherlands, which has actually banned all imports over the Christmas season. I mean, this part of the season is really where you get the biggest volumes out of the chicken producers, as well as the best prices. And now with absolutely no competition coming from Europe, I think the next set of earnings is going to be very good. And I think there's at least a 15 to 20% move in the share price still.
There we go. Do you feel feathers, or will you take it up?
No, I'm still not bullish on this. I think it's an illiquid stock. Maybe it's something for a very long-term player, but it doesn't appeal to me. Within the sector, there's other food businesses I'd rather go with.
There we go. Your chicken is shot down. Just see poof, and there's a spray of white feathers as Sovereign Foods is shot down. Okay, I'm going to try and pronounce this one, Lavan Gopaul, the independent trader. This is a foreign company. I know absolutely nothing about it. In 30 seconds, teach me about Schlumberger.
So Schlumberger is the largest oil services business in the world. It pips Halliburton, it's twice the size thereof. It's a $100 billion business. I'm going short of it because I believe that the crisis that we're seeing within the oil and gas sector is likely to negatively affect them. They're involved in exploration equipment, transportation, tool and die, as well. So along the value chain, contributors to the oil business, I believe a low oil price means less demand for their services.
Okay, so Schlumberger, going short on Schlumberger. Let's sound if we're going to sound as if we've just had a drink for supper. Okay, Schlumberger, do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you willing to go short?
Yeah, I can't say that I look at Schlumberger as often, but I mean, if we look at the general oil price story, I mean, I think Lavan's right. We're going to have lower oil prices for longer. With the whole reshift around the shale OPEC power struggle. I think he probably is right on the oil price front. The problem is, I mean, how much of this is priced in? I mean, we've seen it on our local counters as well. Before that OPEC meeting came out, I mean, you've already had Sasol down sort of 25, 30%. I don't know where this is down, but I'd imagine also down heavily. I mean, is there still time to short? This would be my question.
Yeah, there still is. The stock's gone from $100 to about 80 something. There's probably room for it to go down to $40.
What?
Going back to the 80s, when the Arabs pulled a similar program by oversupplying into the market and dipping prices, what you saw being hurt the most were the oil services businesses. The oil companies themselves enjoyed the high margins during big commodity boom prices, but as the prices fell, they managed to adjust. the services businesses didn't have those proportional profits during the boom period, and of course saw slow activity. So I think Halliburton and Schlumberger certainly going to have trouble.
Is the argument strong enough to convince you on this short?
Yeah, the argument is strong enough. I'll accept that. I mean,
what? No, nothing about it, and he accepts the short.
I accept it. As long as like I mean, obviously with more research into the company, but also like any of these single input commodity. I mean, you have to trade on the back of the commodity price. We have a very solid price view on the oil price over the next sort of 8 to 12 months, and we don't think that we're going to see a recovery up to $110 a barrel. And if that's the case, you're not going to see a recovery in the stock. So I probably wouldn't accept a short, but I wouldn't be buying it.
Okay, so are you shooting it down?
I'll take the short.
You'll take the short
because I still think. Yeah, I'll take the short.
A convincing Lavan Gopaul has made Gary Booysen on first out of the blocks. He doesn't like to go first out of the blocks on these things, so a good argument being made there by Lavan Gopaul. Gary Booysen, you're bullish on your next stock. You have to be, because it's Torre, which is a bull, ultimately, isn't it? In 30 seconds, tell me why.
Torre, it's the old SA French company, so it's cranes and engineering businesses. It's obviously, it was very much isolated in the Western Cape, but it's gone through a massive period of acquisitions. I mean, we first recommended this company at about R1.20. It's now trading just below R4. And I mean, it's not particularly expensive. I mean, it's trading on a P of 32. I mean, the last earnings are about 12 cents per share. We're seeing the next earnings at probably about 32% as they digest all of those new acquisitions. I think it's still a great buy. Target price probably about R5.5, 6 rand for next year.
There we go. Torre gets the thumbs up from Gary, but does Lavan agree?
So within the sector, I've seen a lot of boom and bust with construction and engineering related businesses, and I'm wondering if the timing is so perfect. Overall, if you've got a 30-year outlook, I'm sure everything's great, but for now to try and time it, a number of the construction and engineering related businesses continue to be under toll, and even in the low interest rate environment, you're not seeing that rapid expansion that we expect.
Okay, we're going to give you a 5-minute break to go upstairs onto the roof of this building and just look around you as to what is happening in this part of town. This place is like the world's biggest building site, certainly Africa's biggest building site right now. There's a lot of new activity coming through. Cape Town, for example, you look at the foreshore, in addition to the Naspers building getting reclad, there are buildings going up there all over the place. It does feel for the first time in several years that there is life in the construction sector, Gary. I think and this is not a pure construction play. This is not, you don't need a recovery in the construction sector to back Torre. I mean, Torre, your construction sector agreed, there can still be a lot of work and it can all be low margin business. But if you actually look at the numbers on Torre, I mean, the management, it really specializes in going and buying out businesses like their most recent acquisition of Elephant Lifting. I mean, they buy businesses. I mean, they're earnings accretive. They're buying it on a 6 PE when they're sitting on a 23. I mean, fantastic. You're getting earnings for nothing. I mean, and they take these businesses and turn them around. I mean, it's not so much a construction sector play. It's a very specific play on the management of the company and the earnings potential in this company. I like the story. Do you like the story enough?
No, I don't. There's hot pockets of construction within the Republic, but what you're likely to find now is that it's more expensive to develop than to go out and buy a building that's on the shelf. Also, PE of 32, zero dividend. I'm reluctant.
Are you sure that you want to shoot this one down? Because if you shoot this one down, you have to accept the last one.
Well, it is a share shootout, so it's down.
It's done. You're shot down.
Down.
So both of Sovereign Foods and Torre Industries are shot down. He may regret this one because Gary Booysen, at his devious best, has got a humdinger in place number 3. Let's go to your second pick then, Lavan Gopaul. You obviously like frogs in salad. You don't mind a frog in a salad. You don't mind a protest in a shop. You also don't mind the fact that they are spending an awful lot of money in Australia buying a business that could take an awful long time to turn around. I'm talking, of course, about Woolworths. You have 30 seconds to tell me why you still like it.
So there's a lot to croak about on this one. Let me say the expansion into Australia means that down the line there'll be continued good earnings. In fact, for the next set of reporting, you're going to see a 47% up in turnover just because they're including the Australian business. Along the local sector and the existing businesses, you're seeing increases in food, in clothing, in general retail. The business is expected to enjoy a bumper December, and I think that lower energy prices are going to feed in as something of a boost for retail businesses.
Ribbit, your time is up on that particular one. I went into, as part of my research, I recently went into one of the biggest Woolworths stores in the country, the one in Sandton City, and it's vast, and it's full, and it's busy, and the trolleys are overflowing, and the profit margins are delicious. But are they good enough for you, Gary?
Yeah, and it's one of our favorite retailers, so I'll definitely accept this one. Yeah, looking at Woolies, I think, you know, like Lavan said, with the inclusion of David Jones, you're going to see a big jump up in earnings, or big hop in earnings, and
hop. Love it.
Yeah,
yes,
I tried. And yeah, I think it's a fantastically well-run company, and yeah, I think also one of the kickers for the retail sector in general is that I think this earning, you know, with the falling oil price, since we're talking about oil prices as well, this rate hiking cycle could be a lot shallower than everyone initially expected, which is just going to feed into the retailers again as well. Again, also Woolies targeting higher LSM. These guys are not under the same pressure as the rest of the furniture manufacturers in.
So that's a good point. I think a lot of their consumers are almost bulletproof, but I've also looked at some of the local economics, and if you look at the consumer confidence as well as the spending patterns by private individuals, we're sitting at a little bit at the bottom end of the curve, so it's ready to kickstart up. I believe this lower energy price is just the ticket, but I'm wondering, can Gary go long or agree on both of my picks?
He can, absolutely. He's playing an interesting game. He's being the nice guy here, you see.
I thought you were the nice guy.
He's the good guy. You're the running dog. The running dog has jumped onto Lavan's lily pad twice this evening. Who will walk away the top dog and who will disappear nowhere into the fog? We'll see you after the short break. This is CNBC Africa. You're watching the Share Shootout League, the only league in the world without a corner kick. This is match day number 33. The semi-finals are edging closer. All you need to do is follow at SSO League, and you vote for either the good guy, that's Lavan, or running dog as your favorite stock picker for the evening. Running dog is playing an interesting game. He's chosen both of Lavan's picks. He said, yeah, I'll take a short on Schlumberger, which is an oil services world, and I'll also take a long on Woolworths. He's a big fan of Woolworths. Gary Booysen's picks, however, of Sovereign Foods and Torre Industries, both have been shot down in flames. So, Lavan Gopaul, as we go into the last round, this is a company that's been buying up little design labels over the last couple of months. We've seen it buy kids' clothing, designer kids' clothing labels. They've made a business of it in recent years by buying Uzi and other hot fashion places, Young Designers Emporium. Truworths, however, came under a huge amount of pressure. Michael Mark, the CEO, is retiring in the next couple of months. They've got a guy from a French chain that nobody here has ever heard of to take over. Will it be bonjour, or will it be... I only know one other word and it's a swear word. I'm not going to use it. So, in 30 seconds, tell me why you still like Truworths.
So, as you mentioned, good acquisitions. Nachi has been made public recently. Earthchild is an acquisition of a couple of weeks ago. They've shown us their financials recently and given us an update proving that they've managed to battle through very trying times within clothing retail. What's particularly interesting is they have a mix of credit and cash. They've also got established lines for ladies, women, and our kids. They've dominated in terms of brand, and yeah, bullish on Truworths.
All right, now this is one, Gary, that based on your support for Woolworths, similar dynamics, but Mr. Price is a far more attractive long-term performer than Truworths has been. Truworths, superhero. But maybe Mr. Price is a bigger superhero.
Yeah, I think you sort of took the argument straight out of my mouth. I mean, you know, you look at it, Truworths is a lot cheaper, but I think it's a lot cheaper for a reason. I mean, it's trading on a 12, 13 multiple. Mr. Price is expensive. It's on a 26 multiple.
So would it not be better then to buy Truworths?
I don't believe that you can buy these retailers on a pure value type model. You need to buy into the growth. And I mean, if you look at like Mr. Price compared to Truworths, I mean, online sales, it's the only legitimate online retailer in South Africa, and I think that's where the real growth is going to come from. Mr. Price just doing everything right, whereas Truworths, you know, Mr. Price, you know, calling the you know, sort of the credit crunch on the consumer correctly, and you know, reducing the amount of credit sales that they extended. Truworths not getting it right. I mean, I think, you know, if I had to back management, I'd probably be backing Stuart Bird rather than Truworths.
Okay.
So you've got a lot of branding in terms of the way they attract retailers. So it's big brands, people come in looking for a particular label. general. That aside, the growth that we've observed is not only by acquisition, while it's wise because they're including new dimensions to the
Mr. Price has got all of that under one label. It doesn't need to go and have multiple brands. This is a bit like the first round multi-brand strategy.
There's the distinction.
Is it a good distinction?
The Truworths client isn't, or the Truworths customer isn't necessarily the same as the Mr. Price guy. Truworths is a brand loyal individual, whereas Mr. Truworths just needs a little bit of cloth to cover.
I think you're underselling Mr. Price. Take him down, Gary.
I think you've maybe misunderstood Mr. Price. I mean, Mr. Price is definitely a high LSM play. You're looking at LSM 7 to 10. Definitely, it's just a fashion value play, which I think in the current economic climate, even the higher LSMs are buying down into Mr. Price rather than going for the Truworths. I think their target market is almost identical, but you're getting better value if you go to Mr. Price as a customer.
As a parent of small children who look hell of a cute in Earthchild and hell of a cute in Nachi, you see them in the same T-shirt a lot because they've only got one of each, and that's it's that sort of dynamic. So you're shooting Truworths down.
Yeah, I'll shoot that one
Okay,
down.
I thought you had lost your marbles, but you haven't.
I wanted to try and take all three.
There's Christmas shopping.
I just couldn't.
No, you couldn't. What a good guy. He's the good guy. Okay, Lavan Gopaul, we go to the final one. You've got to accept this pick. You've got to find some reason to accept it. This is, if people really understood the e-tolls, they would hate this business a lot more. They would hate it more than Sanral, because this is the technology company behind Sanral. These are the great enablers of snapping your car every time you go under a gantry. And if you've got an e-tag, reading the e-tag, foreigners taking money out the country. Tell me why you like Kapsch.
If that is not a good, I'm short Kapsch, by the way, Kapsch Trafficcom.
Oh, you're short.
No, I am short. So yeah, if you look at it, I mean, just on all the fundamental metrics, it's weak. I mean, its total return for the year is down 48%. It's got momentum down to the downside. Its balance sheet is weaker. It's lost a whole lot of tolling contracts in Russia because of what's going on there. The whole environment around e-tolls, I think they're already suffering from South Africa because they're negative earnings now. But the whole environment across the world has changed. I mean, even in their change with the report, they're saying, we can't really see how we're going to make money, but we're optimistic.
Got you. Okay, so I thought you were going long. I beg your pardon. I did think you'd actually gone mad.
No.
I thought the son in Mauritius on honeymoon had gone to your head. So he's shorting Kapsch. That's an easy accept.
I've got to accept it based purely on loyalty. Being a good South African, there's no choice but to accept it. When I look at this share price, every time we've seen a legal battle on home ground, we've seen that share price react very tensely ahead of that decision. So certainly the South African business contributes to their bottom line. As you mentioned, expansion into Eastern Europe and Russia. Also areas that they're looking at, emerging markets, and I believe that there's a lot that can go wrong. South Africans haven't really accepted the e-toll, haven't bought into it. So I'll accept that short.
There we go. Your short is accepted, Gary Booysen. I really did think that you'd gone completely and utterly balmy because there isn't a short written on my page. But there we go, Gary Booysen. You're accepted on your short on Kapsch International, which takes us to an interesting place, and this is where you play the game. Catch us on Twitter and you vote for the player of your choice. You do a retweet or a tweet, and we don't really care as long as it's got the hashtag @SSOLeague. We will count it as a vote. Voting closes Sunday midnight. You follow @SSOLeague. You use the power of the hashtag, either hashtag the good guy or hashtag, of course, running dog. Let's just run you through it one more time. Gary Booysen from Vunani Private Clients, Sovereign Foods, Torre Industries, and short on Kapsch Trafficcom. Kapsch Trafficcom short accepted, but Torre and Sovereign Foods were shot down. And then Lavan Gopaul, the independent trader. Both of his first two picks, Schlumberger and Woolworths, were both accepted, but Truworths was shot down. That's where we end tonight's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. I most certainly did. Until next time, do stay cunning. Good night.